Hey guys, it's Average and welcome back to the channel. It feels like it's the Cessna 172 day, as we're inside a hangar. We're at Zonnen in southern Germany here, and we're checking out the new Carenado vintage Cessna 172. Now the 172 Skyhawk's a 4-seat single-engine high-wing fixed-wing aircraft made by Cessna. First flew in 1955, and it, I think, first was developed from the Cessna 170 of 1948, and this is why this version looks a little bit unusual. We'll go into the actual sim here and take a look, but you'll notice no rear window. And for some reason, even though I have got a tail number selected, it's not showed up on this one. It could just be a glitch, but the tail number is not displaying. I did have one. Take our cover off there. As you can see, great similarities to the Cessna 170 in its appearance. Now, this early model has got the original 145 horsepower engine in this thing, which is the same one as the 170. It's a Continental 0300 6-cylinder, and yeah, the plugs have been pulled out of that there. Got our oil in here, looking good. Chocks down here. Now we have got versions with, which you see here from the sale page. There's also tons of liveries, and we have versions with wheel pants and not with wheel pants as well, should you prefer that. And this is an A model of the 172. So in that regard, this one comes with, like I say, 8 liveries you see there. We've got the S-Tech 55X Autopilot, the Garmin 430. There's the compatibility with the 650 and also with the GTN and GNS units from other systems. We have the full circuit breakers, transponders, audio panels, and it doesn't specify real experience like their recent releases, because the Baron and the 210 specified the real experience. This does not specify that, but it is also cheaper. Those came out at about £20. This is only 15, which is like halfway between their famous flyer price and their independent releases. So let's have a look inside. And I am pleasantly surprised that it's a vintage beauty. Now, we do have a tablet control page here for it. There's the pile of Cessna things I have backing up here, which is the thing that annoys me the most, is I'm now starting to have a screen of Carenado things. I complain about this every time Carenado releases something. Make a single app that has pages for all your aircraft, please, Carenado. Because this is annoying. I don't like this. I like to have them all installed. I don't want to have my entire app page full of Carenado things. That needs to get fixed. Now, we can activate the PMS and TDS GTN 650s to replace this 430 here, or we can leave it in place. I don't have these installed. Otherwise, the app does nothing. So to have an individual app for each aircraft that just does that is a humongous pain in the behind. Otherwise, here is our interior. Now, we have our circuit breakers all functional down here. We cannot open things like that. We can open various air vents in the cabin. Got our weights and distances there, which is kind of nice to have included on there, taped on. Ceiling lights. There's our back seat, very small. Not a ton of space in there. Windows are the roll tab style. Our flap lever is here, because these are manual flaps. This is before the Cessna 172 got electric flaps, so it'll have very fast flap deployment. Yes, that's our throttle. We're talking good vintage stuff here. So let's get powers on, shall we? So it's going to be master. Pull on. Okay, let's give it a bit of a prime. Make sure our fuel is on. Everything is good there. Crack the throttle a little bit. Okay. Clear prop. So I don't think they're stock 172 sounds, but it definitely sounds meatier and hollower. So the 0300 sound definitely going a bit more noticeable there. That's on there. Let's put our avionics on as well, which is on there. Autopilot engage, disengage is here. It is a relatively simple aircraft in actuality. There we go. Otherwise, just a simple, small 172, but with a very weird looking view for us, of course, of this vintage panel. So let's have a bit of a spin, shall we? Let's make sure our parking brake is disengaged. That's disengaged. Right. Oh, before we go anywhere, I'm just going to put the brakes on here. This is a freeware aircraft for Zonin. I'll include this one in case people want it. It's rather nice because we have the little town here. Up on this hill. In southern Bavaria. The quarry at the end of the runway there. And a beautiful little glider and farm field. If this is your kind of flying, it's a nice spot to have. And it's kind of cool that the town runs right past the runway here, so you're right there. Right. Back in the aircraft. Let's go flying, shall we? And yes, that sign is there to stop you incurring onto the road. So our flaps are literally a notch down there, manual. Okay. Are we ready to fly? I think we're ready to fly. The yoke's back on again. So yeah, it's a very nice vintage aircraft as an offering to have, because 172s are boring, but this makes it much more exciting in that regard at least. And that it is unique. And it's nice to have an old model. It's cheaper than their other third-party releases, which is good, because it's a very simple aircraft. I'd hope it would be. And they already had the body of the 170. Quarry down here. And this is up in the air here as our flaps coming up now. That's simple. So I will say the liveries are gorgeous for this because they're quite vintage and beautiful. Nice bold vintage colours. Always adds to the feeling. Climb up here. We'll see how she stalls and behaves. That'll be fun. And so far it does seem it is not compatible. Unfortunately, as I was hoping it might just be liaising the sounds from the stock 172, I don't think it is. So unfortunately that means our Echo 19 sound pack we tried out yesterday isn't going to work with this. Unfortunate, but expected. We are a little low for what I'd like for this, but it's not going to be a problem. Alright, you know what? I'm just going to hold us on for power on stall. Oh, and we rolled straight in. That was not unexpected, but it was a bit more vicious than I was thinking it might be initially. So use some of this speed and convert it to altitude. Go for a power off this time. Once we convert some of this up here. So power off, and we're going to go for a full dirty, so flaps are full. Hold on the controls, and it drops a wing quite viciously. Flaps. There. Whoop. There we go. Discord's beeping at me. So we'll do an approach and we'll see how she slips. Because I do like to sidestep aircraft, and it can often... Ooh. It doesn't like being on the edge of control there, even though I'm actually relatively quick, so... Okay. Right, keep the power in here. There's definitely a drone to this one that I've not heard in the 172. Which is quite nice, actually. We'll do a slip into a touch and go, come around, do a pat, and then we'll put down properly. So... Go one notch flaps. This is perfect, just a slider in there. It's not my usual side step direction. I usually go to the right rather than left. So pilot's side closest. But that's more of a vision and perspective thing I prefer. That's unusual for me to have happening. It's the road. Yeah, there's more of a drone behind the sound, so I don't think it's the stock 172 sounds at all. At least I don't believe it is. Somebody might correct my ear. Could always be wrong. Okay. Speed is reasonable, so we'll go crosswind. There we go. Turn her downwind now. It's coordinated. I think it's going to be something to keep an eye on there. If your speed gets a little bit too low and you drop it at the low wing, and if you are low and slow, this will bite you quite harshly, so something to be aware of. And not something I've noticed the stock 172 do. So the flight model is not the stock 172 flight model either, which you could think they might try and get away with, given it's a 172. It'd be very easy to be cheeky with that. Obviously, it's not as fast as the current 172, and it's lighter, actually. Okay, there's the quarry, so we're okay here. Okay, there's the quarry, so we'll turn in for base. Power back. Not a complicated aircraft, not a complicated review. If you want to another vintage aircraft for your collection, I think this is an excellent choice, because not only is it a nice vintage aircraft, but it offers a couple of mod cons. You've got the 430 in there, and you have an autopilot, and you have a transponder. So you have the modern conveniences in a vintage airframe with great visibility to the sides and forward, cruise around 105 knots, which isn't bad at all, and, most importantly, looks good doing it. Which is a very pretty aeroplane there, and a classic, the 172. Now, downside, being a vintage aircraft, I don't necessarily want to have all these instruments here. I would have loved, in that little tablet they keep insisting on having an app for, I would have loved that they included an option to clean out those avionics, to remove the autopilot, the transponder, and the GPS, and give me a clean vintage look. I know they already have a version of the coffee grinder radios. They used it in their Piper. So why not give us a clean vintage look? Because it kind of kills the look of a vintage aircraft when the only variant of it is a modernised cockpit. Semi-modernised. So that's my only gripe. That would have been really nice of them to include. I think that would have been a really cool option, because then I could have cosplayed like it was 1955, 1960, flown around the California coast in my Cessna 172, and it did it again on approach. I think it's this airport. Oh, a bit of rudder to the left. Stop me drifting. Flaps up. A little braking, not too much. I think I'm actually getting a little distracted and expecting to have my tail lower for this one, because I'm expecting it to be like the 170 and it's not. Feels surreal having my nose this low with this panel. Excuse me, Karen. And the truck parked in the best possible spot there. Go round him. There we go. Alright, cut the fuel. And hop on out. So, is it worth it? Oh, hello. That's not the texture for there. That is not the texture for there. That's a texture mismatch that's appeared. I don't think that was on the other version. Yeah, it should be like that. So something weird happened to that particular skid there, and it wasn't there earlier, so that's weird. So there's definitely a couple of little glitches and problems, but hopefully there can be things that we can find. Otherwise, I think for its price, not terribly bad actually. It's Carenado quality, you get what you expect, and it certainly does it as it wants to. Thanks for watching. Bye.